Hello, welcome to Making Photos. I'm Ian in Butterfield. It's that time again, time I did a feedback video. Professional photographer reacts to your photos. Today I've got 10 images from different photographers. Some have been submitted to the email address feedback@makingphotos.co.uk, and you can still submit images via that email address, and I'll use them in a future feedback video, or they've been posted on the Facebook group. Again, link to that down below. Without any further ado, let's go over into Lightroom and have a look at today's images. Well, there's 10 of them here from, I think, 9 different photographers. So right, let's just start at the beginning with this image from Colin Valenzuela. So this, Colin did tell me where it was, image on his travels. It's a lovely, I think it's Spanish or Portuguese street. Really like the colours on this, Colin, works really well with it. The main thing you pointed out was the wheelie bin, and yeah, it's a bit of a pain, isn't it? The other thing I would mention about this is the converging verticals. So I'm just going to go over into the develop module and let's see what we can do about all this. So here in the develop module, let's first of all deal with those verticals. We're going to go down to transform, and we are going to say vertical, and let's see what it gives us. It's not bad. I think it's still got a slight rotate to it, so I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to do it guided, and then I know it's spot on. So I just need to find a line coming down here for one, and probably the line of the door for the other. So I go along there and let it work that one out. Yeah, that's about right on there. So now with that, I can then crop the image in, and I'm going to crop just into the orange terracotta there. Same over on that side. That makes it a little bit tall, and if I bring it up just a fraction at the bottom, that will help reduce that sort of effect. So I think that as the crop. Now, there appears to be, yeah, there's a couple of birds in the sky there. It's debatable whether to take those out or not. I tend to, when they're small like that, because at first glance, you tend to think of them as dust spots. Now, what can we do with this bin? I'm going to open this in Photoshop. Here we are in Photoshop. I've zoomed in on the bin. I am going to use one of the tools, content aware fill. So the way to do that is, first of all, I need to select the item. So I want to be really as tight as I can on this. And you'll notice I've selected the shadow as well with that. So now we want content aware fill. I select that. We have the option to select the areas it can pick from, and it's not done a brilliant job with it, I can see. So I'm going to output to a new layer because that will give me certain other extra options available to me with it. And let's see what the other sampling options give us. Well, rectangular does a much better job, I think. And let's say OK. So there we go. Control D now to deselect. Now we can see it's done OK on certain bits, but round here it's really struggled. So if I just zoom in, what I can do now is I can use the clone stamp just to try and sort out some of these problems. And again, I'm going to add a new layer. You'll notice I keep my layers over on the left-hand side now. I just find that easier to work with these days. So just add a new layer on top and go with the clone stamp. Reduce the size of the brush down. And I'm going to say from here, I'm going to select. So that's hold the Alt key. And you can see now I can just start painting in those missing sections. And I just want to join it up. Now, this isn't going to be perfect by any means, but what I want to try and do is just show how it is possible to recover these sorts of things. Now, I'm going to do an optical illusion here. This looks like it's a drain pipe to me, or it could be an edge. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to make it look like an edge. So I'm just zooming in, make my brush really tiny, select here, and I'm just going to paint it to look like it's an edge along there. Now I need to do something else with this section here, and I'll just speed this up on the video just so that you can see it rather than spending all that time with me just painting stuff in. But you're getting the idea that this sort of thing is possible, but it just takes time to actually achieve what we want with it. You just have to keep going, sampling where you can and just painting in those colours. So now, if I zoom out, I think that's a pretty reasonable job of getting rid of the wheelie bin with it. So let's head back to Lightroom. So if you want to see the before and after, with the bin, without. It's far from perfect, but I think anyone just glancing at that probably wouldn't realise what's gone on there. It's far from perfect, but I think for most people that's more than adequate for getting rid of a wheelie bin. Right, our next image is from Grumble Ghoul, who is one of the YouTube subscribers, and it's a railway. I believe it's in North America. Now, there's a lot I like about this image. I like the black and white conversion. I like very much this S shape in the track. S shapes in images are always strong compositional elements. So well identified on that. Now, I don't know how long you were there. I don't know whether it was worth waiting for a train to come through, but I think this would have been nice with the train just in the background, just coming around the curve here towards the camera. I don't know whether that would have been possible. If it wasn't, well, it wasn't, but that would have been a suggestion. There is one thing that does detract from this image, and that's this white area up here at the top. The eye is always drawn to the brightest part of an image, and the sky can often be that part. So what we're seeing here is the eye drawn away from the main subject. So can we solve this? Let's have a look in the develop module. And does a crop actually help with this? And it might do. Maybe that's a little bit too severe. Let's just have a look with just a hint of that white right at the top there instead of a large amount. And I think that works better. Because it's not such a large area of white that's drawing the eye. Now we can do one other thing which will help with that, and that is to add a vignette into it, which will just darken that area off a little bit. Now I have a set of presets for Lightroom for my vignettes. These are or will be available depending on when you're watching this. When they are available, I'll put a link in the show notes. But I think quite a strong vignette like that helps to deaden that bit of sky down just a fraction, keeps it nice and bright here, so the eye is now drawn in to the S shape rather than being drawn away from it in the sky. So Grumble Ghoul, I hope you found that helpful. One other thing I just want to check, if I zoom right in, yeah, good focus, good focus. Right, image number 3 is from a regular on the channel, John Barton. This was shot just recently with his drone, and it's similar sort of things I've said before, I'm afraid, John, but worth just commenting on. I love the colours on it. Is it a tad oversaturated? I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit grainy in places. Don't know whether I can... Yeah, that's fully zoomed in. It's a little bit grainy in places. I think the biggest problem with it is this fence at the bottom. So let's go to the develop module and sort that one out. And all I want to do with this is just crop it. We can just crop that out of there. And if we make that full screen, and I think that works better. Now, again, this noise. I'm going to just do a little bit of noise reduction on it, and it doesn't take much to actually get rid of it altogether. Again, using my presets on here. So the mid one, I think that's sufficient to do it. Now, the resolution's not huge because I've taken it off Facebook, but I think that's the sort of thing I would do with the image. I might be tempted just to bring that saturation down just slightly on there, not by much, by about 10. I think that's a little bit more realistic on the saturation. This image is from Ruskin Savlar, one of his tiger images from the Indian subcontinent, and I've not got full resolution. I can't tell whether the sharpness is critically sharp on there or not. It looks pretty good, to be honest with it. And what I do like is it's on the 1/3 lines. I'd probably tighten the crop up just a little bit because I don't think the top's adding much. So I'd bring that down, maybe just tighten it slightly on that side to go to that sort of position with it. Looking at the histogram, I think the exposure is a little bit low on there. I suspect you're probably working on a non-calibrated monitor because if you were calibrated, I'm sure you'd have adjusted the exposure up to something like that. Maybe just added a touch more contrast with it. So before and after, I think it just needs that little bit of a lift to it. But it's a lovely shot. It's well captured. And you're much braver than I am getting close to a tiger like that. Our next image is from Gary Gabitas, and this is an image of a crane, which he said he liked because of the colours. I've given a couple of comments about this on the Facebook group, and I like the colours as well. I'm not so sure about the crop with it. It just feels a little too tall for my liking. I know the crane is much more at a vertical angle, but what can we do with this? What I can do is I can head out to Photoshop and hopefully show you on there. Right, the first thing I'm going to do with this is to try and add some more space to it. So if I unlink that, image, canvas size, and if I do it % and make it something silly on the width, maybe I do need to add just a little bit on the height, maybe about 50% just at the top. So we say OK on that. So what I want to do now is to fill in the sky. So I'll take the magic wand and just select the area, edit content aware fill, And hopefully, yes, it's given me a whole load of blue sky, but you can see here that it's tried to put in bits of the crane. So to prevent bits of the crane going in there, what I have to do is just deselect the crane and the scaffold off here and let it rework that. That's not bad. Yep, I'll take that and say OK. Control D. Now I can show you the crop that I think will work with this. So we go to crop. What I think we need with it is an angled crop. Something, I want to make it quite a severe one. Right, those edges are really showing up, so I just need probably the heel tool, and let's just get rid of them all along there, and I can still see them over here. So let's just get rid of that. And I will cut that, I think, works a lot better as an image. So if I exit back into Lightroom with that, so we can see Gary's original image and my edited version by just creating a quirky angle by adding some additional sky to make it work. So hope that one's helped. Even in terms of just showing you how you can add sky to an image. So our next image is from Michael Pinkard, and this is a shot under a pier, 30-second exposure. I love the sort of the colour with the sea on there, the blurring of it. The whole image is really, really nice, but there are just a couple of things that need our attention on here. First of all, I believe that horizon is sloping. I think that is definitely sloping. Whether the pillars are truly vertical, I'm not sure, but let's sort that out. Let's get into the develop module, and first of all, let's go down to transform. I'm going to do it guided, and I am going to say that's a horizon. I'm going to say that's an edge we want. That sorts that out, and I want to make sure these are truly vertical, so we've got that. And then that's the other one. So take that off. And I think that looks a lot better for just doing that, for straightening it up. Now, what else do we need to do with this image? Well, I think I'd have liked to have seen the third pillar. I'm assuming this is the central point and that this one matches up with the line going down there, and I would guess there is a third one just out of shot over here, and I would like to have seen that in the image. I like the light. I think this is light coming through here from above, and if it is, I quite like it. If it's something else, I don't like it. So I think there's a couple of things we want to do with it in the edit, though. And one of the things I'd like to do with this is I'd like to make it look a little bit more nighttime. And I'm going to do that by just cooling it down very slightly. It gives it a bit more of a bluey tint to it. Those highlights I'm also going to take down a little bit. I'm going to bring the shadows up a bit with it, and the exposure just slightly, but then bring the contrast up, and we start to see the colours coming out. If I dehaze it, we should start to see blue even more. So we've got much more richer colours in there. I don't want to go too far with it, but I think something like that. And if I go onto here with the, I'm going to use the selection tool just to try and, well, darken down those blues a fraction and bring the saturation up on them just a little bit. It gives us a little bit more of a nighttime look to it. Bring the saturation down very slightly, I think, with it. Just something like that. So the before and after with this, before and after. And I think that just helps with that image a little bit. I'd say it's a lovely shot to start with, Michael. It's a great idea, great concept image. Well done. I just wanted to take that to the next level for you. This silhouette, and I quite like this. The problem I have with it is my eye is getting drawn to this window, which I don't quite like in here, and I'd like to lose that somehow. So I don't know whether we can do it with a crop and just bring it to something like that. And I think that might work a little bit better. I think we've still got enough of the shape there to sell the idea that there's a window, there's something in the background with it. It's a nice black and white conversion. Difficult to check focus. It looks a little bit soft around the outside. I don't know whether that's because it's a Facebook image where I haven't got the full resolution. And the next one I want to look at, this one is from JC Summerman. Thank you, JC, for submitting this image. I really love the colours on it. It works really well. Greyhound, presumably bus station in the States. I've got just a couple of suggestions with this. The colour toning on it is absolutely brilliant. The one thing I don't like is this bright patch here, which is really drawing my eye away from the Greyhound sign. So what I want to try and do is see whether we can fix that. So it's going to develop. I'm going to use the spot removal brush and give myself a reasonable one. And I am just going to paint that whole edge. Now, this may or may not work. I tend not to try things in advance with these tutorials. Hey, this might just do it. If I put that on there, I get that lined up. Hey, you know what? I think this is working. I've just got an edge there I want to deal with. That needs to just come off there. And there we go. That's really helped with it. That's softened that so that it's not pulling the eye quite so much. I like the contrast in it. I like the clarity you've got in this image. Hope you found that helpful. The general feedback, great image. Now, final two images. The first of them here by Richard Lovelock. And this is a theatre image. I believe it was a performance on a cruise ship. This is an absolutely brilliant bit of theatre photography. It's got that shallow depth of field, which those of you who receive my newsletter will have heard me talk about shallow depth of field in theatre photography earlier this week. And that's worked really well. I love the colour contrast. So we've got the red on the main character at the front. And it's just absolutely superb, Richard. Perfect focus. Brilliant depth of field. Nothing I would change on it. And then finally, from John Bamber. And this one, and I can't remember what birds it is. It is a lovely a dance, a mating ritual, I guess, of these birds. I'm not sure about the white edge to it. It just feels a little bit too harsh for my liking. I would probably be more tempted to do something a little bit tighter like that. Don't much mind it fading out at the bottom, but I think that kind of look works better. Now, it's a little bit noisy, not necessarily a bad thing, but I always have a look and see what these sort of things would look like if we applied noise reduction to it. And it's not making a great deal of difference on it. It's a minor bit of difference with the noise reduction. So I probably would do it. I might, and again, this is personal preference, because I know what you've done here is to go with that sort of foggy look. I might just dehaze it, or try. No, dehazing is not working. It's affecting too much. So reset that. I'd have to do it on the black slider then, just to darken those blacks up just a little bit and bring the exposure back up. Yeah, that's a bit tricky. It's not done exactly what I wanted before and after on it. Yeah, I think I like that extra little bit of bite that's in there. So those are little tweaks, but it's a lovely shot, John. I would just say the main thing there is the tighter crop, and I'm not 100% convinced with the white vignette. So there we have it, 10 great images of yours, folks. It's been a pleasure to look at them and to provide feedback on them. If you want me to provide feedback on some of your images next time, please email them to feedback@makingphotos.co.uk. The link is down below. And that's it for this week's video. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining in the live chat, those of you who were in there. Slightly longer video this week. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And, well, I'll see you next week. But before then, you'll find on the screen here some Lightroom tutorials. And here's another feedback video that you might want to take a look at. Until next time, thanks for watching and keep making great photos. Bye for now.